Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, and today we are going to be going over all of the stealth changes, the secret changes you can call them, in update 5.1. I'm sure you guys have been playing yesterday, but there is a lot of things that have been changed in here that were not in the update notes from DICE. So we're going to go over all of that stuff. Before we get started though, if you guys do enjoy the videos here on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content. Thank you guys so much for your support recently. We are sneaking up on 47,000 subscribers. That is the current goal. So as always, any help you guys can give me in reaching that goal is massively appreciated. Okay, let's begin with some of the aiming sensitivity changes to console. I'm not sure if this is really a stealth change or if you can call this a bug because it's unclear at the moment whether this is actually intended by DICE. But I've been seeing a lot of players around on Reddit and Twitter saying that console is pretty much unplayable at the moment. Just like this post here on Reddit, the guy says, you know, the aim sensitivity in update 5.1 is literally so broken that it's unplayable, and to make matters worse, aim assist doesn't work at all now, so basically why even play the game? It's uncontrollable. I've seen a lot of other posts of people saying that, you know, aim assist isn't working as intended, and I don't really recall the post. It was a little while ago now. I covered this in a video, but I think we saw Kevin, Total FPS, one of the community managers for 2042, on Twitter, and he posted a little statement from DICE basically saying that they were looking into aim assist and making some changes to how it works. A lot of people made videos on it, a lot of people talked about it and thought that they were perhaps going to buff aim assist, so I do wonder if that sort of ties into there and they just haven't put it in the update notes, maybe because they knew that it would annoy some people. On the other hand, it could well be that this is a bug. It could also be that there are no changes to aim assist whatsoever and it's something to do with aiming sensitivities. I myself play on PC, so I can't really compare, you know, even if I would plug in a controller now, how it was before to how it is right now in patch 5.1. But feel free to comment down below, guys, if you play on a console and you feel that things are a little bit strange, then definitely leave those comments. Okay, next up, the transport helicopters have actually been renamed to gunship. So previously, the Superhind and of course the Condor were in the transport helicopter category, and as people have kind of joked, really, they are much more akin to gunships than they are transport helicopters, and it seems that DICE have now just gone ahead and sort of given in and said, you know what, let's just let them be called gunships, which I suppose is a good idea. They are much more akin to a gunship than a transport heli, so it makes sense to have that sort of indicative name there. Okay, moving on, we've got a couple of changes to the in-game lobby screen. So firstly, when you're waiting in-game and you see your soldiers line up with the rest of your squad mates, you can now actually extend the player cards for them to be seen. Also, if you head over to the Battle Pass screen, if you're a player on PC, you can now scroll through the different tiers using the scroll button on your mouse wheel, and you'll also notice that they've added these numbers down at the bottom. Those are for the various pages of the Battle Pass, so if you want to skip all the way to the end of the Battle Pass, you can now do that. Also, a lot of players have been reporting that they have received a pack of skins which are actually the pre-order bonus skins that are now available for everybody. I pre-ordered the game previously, so I didn't receive these skins, and that's why this kind of flew under my radar. But it seems that these skins have now been made available for every single player, simply as a thank you for playing the game. Alright, before we move on to some more interesting stealth changes to the vehicles in the game, I just wanted to lightly touch on how some of the things that have been changed in update 5.1 are now performing, namely the M39 EMR, one of the two Vault DMRs that of course received attachments. So I believe if you go and equip the M39, you will have the Warhawk compensator available. You don't need to unlock it at all, just put it on there, and it is going to reduce the vertical recoil of the weapon by an absolute ton. So previously, the M39 was a pretty good DMR, but it had so much vertical recoil that you had to constantly let the rifle recover so that you could actually see your target off in the distance, right? Like, the vertical recoil was so extreme that you couldn't spam it over long distances. If you did, you would just simply lose track of your target. But with the Warhawk compensator on, it is just night and day. Don't get me wrong, it will still have significant recoil, especially if you're firing it and using all of those 300 rounds per minute and it's over long distance. But if you're okay at controlling recoil, this thing can beam people across the battlefield. So if you're a player like me who doesn't normally pick up a DMR and you just kind of skip by them, I would still recommend checking out the M39 EMR. It's definitely worth it. Haven't checked out the SVD myself yet, but I have a feeling that the M39 is going to be superior. Now, I also wanted to touch lightly on the new changes to the rocket pods on the jets. As you guys may recall, they have completely changed the reload system, so you don't have to reload an entire salvo of rocket pods anymore the way you had to pre-patch. Now they've changed it to work the same way as rocket pods on other vehicles do, where they will simply automatically replenish themselves over time, and the replenish rate is pretty fast. It's about 1 rocket per second, something around that. So, you know, by the time you come back round for another strafe, you're maybe going to have somewhere between 8 to 10 rockets, even if you finished every single one of them. And of course, the big change is that they increased the range to 600 meters. It was previously 400 meters, so that is a 50% increase, absolutely massive there. And as I think you guys can tell from the background footage here, especially for killing infantry, these things are way more effective now. Now, of course, if you start firing at somebody at 600 meters out, they do still have the same dispersion, as far as I can tell. So the further you are away, the less accurate you're going to be with them. You know, that spread is going to have more of an effect. But I have seen some people saying that they think the spread on them is tighter, but I think that's a placebo thing. As far as I can tell from my experience, the spread seems to be exactly the same. I think the issue here is that people were firing them from too far of a distance, experiencing those rockets simply disappearing and putting it down to bad spread, and now that the range has been increased and they're getting those hits, they think the spread has been increased, but that's actually not the case. It's just a range increase. Anyway, if you haven't tried the rocket pods, go and unlock them, give them a try. Even if you're not the best, you know, jet ace pilot in the sky, you can certainly score a few kills with these. And finally, that brings us to the Nightbird. So the Nightbird was not mentioned at all in update 5.1, but it has seen quite a few sneaky changes here. So first of all, the third-person camera is no longer tied to the chassis of the helicopter. So previously, when you would maneuver in third person, and this was especially apparent in zoom mode, the camera was like a one-to-one sort of tied to your crosshair. So the same way that if you move your soldier around on the ground, the camera moves with your soldier. That would also happen in third person in vehicles, but it's now a little bit more floaty and it sort of loosely follows your helicopter instead. And another change that a lot of great pilots seem to be reporting is that the helicopter is a little bit more nimble and easier to control. I'm not somebody who plays in the helicopters day in, day out, you know, all day long, like some fantastic helicopter pilots out there. So for me, it's hard to judge these kind of changes. Part of me thinks it's just a placebo effect because I've seen other people saying it, but part of me thinks they could actually have changed this because DICE are pretty much known for messing around specifically with the Nightbird and not putting the changes in the update notes. This has happened update after update after update. There are always some new little tiny tweaks and changes that don't make the update notes. But over on Twitter here, Heeb started this thread and he says that the heli third person camera is not hooked to the chassis anymore, just like I thought. Third person cam zoom is now less accurate but doesn't glitch anymore, and that the jet pods are good. So I decided to chime in here saying that, you know, I'm not sure if it's just me, but the miniguns feel like they have a slightly faster velocity. It's just slightly easier to hit a target, you know, running from left to right, so the bullets are reaching that target quicker. And like I said, I'm not sure if it's just me feeling that, but then he chimed in saying that apparently Reaps, who is a very well-known helicopter pilot from OCE, he's a way better pilot than I am, and I think, you know, the Nightbird is kind of his bread and butter. He chimed in here saying pretty much the same thing. So he said, to summarize, what I noticed is that the miniguns connect easier. I don't know if it's because the bullets are bigger or the velocity of them is higher. It could be both, but the miniguns are definitely stronger. They only have a little bit more spread, and the third person camera is now separate from the heli. So it seems I'm not the only one who's noticed this little change. A lot of other players are reporting this as well. I know that isn't a huge groundbreaking change for the majority of players out there, but if you do play in the Nightbirds regularly and use the miniguns regularly, then you'll know that a small little tweak to them is kind of a big deal. So that is going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know if there are any stealth changes that you found yourself that I've maybe missed down in the comments section, and let's hope that next time DICE put out the update notes, they will put every single change in there. I think they have stated before that they can't put every change because if they would actually go ahead and do that, the update notes would be so long that nobody would bother reading them. There are that many small little tweaks and changes, so instead they try to select the changes that are most impactful players and the most meaningful. Leave a like down below, guys, if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, of course, for more Battlefield content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.